She was brought to him draped in silk, carried on a floating grav slab, her eyes wide and empty like stars that forgot how to burn. The alien baron chuckled, long and loud, showing 2 rows of amber teeth, a sound like a saw dragged through wet wood. "For your service, Terran, I offer you a gift. My daughter. Useless in battle. Broken since birth. But perhaps, in your primitive kind's strange affections, you may find some amusement in her." The court laughed. Dozens of alien nobles, cloaked in shimmering biofabrics and jeweled tendrils, hooted at the cruelty. He was a Terran mercenary, valued, feared, but never respected. Not really. The humans had arrived only 30 years ago and already outperformed most species in tactics, adaptability, and sheer will. But they were still outsiders. Tools. Dogs that won wars. Captain Elias Harker didn't laugh. He stepped forward, boots echoing in the silent moment that followed the Baron's gesture. His face was unreadable. He looked down at the girl, no, the young woman, lying motionless, her forearms limp, head supported by a curved cushion. Her name was Virea, he'd heard. He'd also heard rumors: nerve damage from oxygen starvation at birth, limbs unresponsive, bones brittle, mind untouched. She blinked once. Then again. Her eyes weren't vacant. Just silent. Watching everything. He turned to the Baron. "She's not property." The Baron waved a lazy claw. "Consider her a pet. She won't bite. Can't." Elias didn't argue. He simply nodded once, lifted her grav slab gently with the remote handle, and wheeled her out of that throne room of mockery. The alien nobles resumed their laughter as the doors closed behind him. What they didn't know, what no one knew, was that Elias had once been paralyzed, too. His outpost on Titan's outer rim was modest, cobbled together from salvaged pods, kinetic shielding, and repurposed mining domes. But it was home. Elias had built it after retiring from active campaigns, wanting peace, only to be dragged back when the Baron's world needed human strategies to crush rebellion. Now, with his gift, he returned to find the silence more alive than ever. Virea had not spoken the entire flight back. He'd explained things calmly, how gravity would feel here, what the air was like, the machines around her. She blinked and responded with slight finger twitches that the sensors picked up. Her brain interface, Elias realized, was online but outdated, primitive tech compared to Terran standards. He made her a promise that night, one he hadn't even voiced aloud. He would never treat her like cargo. Never like a joke. And if she had potential, any spark, any dream left inside, he'd do whatever it took to bring it to life. The first upgrade was neural. He didn't ask permission from the Baron. He had his own black market contacts. He installed a new Terran-made neurosynaptic interpreter behind her ear, syncing it with his base's AI. Her responses went from flickers to fluent sentences in minutes. "Hello. Who are you?" "I'm Elias Harker. Captain. Mostly retired." You know who I am." "Doesn't mean I know you." There was a long pause. Then, "Why are you helping me?" He didn't answer right away. Instead, he rolled her slab over to the workshop window. The rings of Saturn shimmered in the distance. "Because they laughed when they gave you to me. I don't like being laughed at. That's a bad reason. It's not the only one." He began her physical rehabilitation using Terran exosuit protocols adapted for quadrilimbs. Her body resisted. Bones cracked. Muscles failed. She screamed, no sound, just sensor alerts, until he slowed down the process and revised the suits. By the second month, she could move her upper arms for a few seconds per hour. By the third, she could sit up with assistance. And through it all, they talked. About war. About gravity. About betrayal. She told him how the Baron never touched her. Never acknowledged her except as failure. Her siblings were born warriors. She was the family curse. Elias told her about Earth, about falling off a hover tank in the Arctic campaign and breaking everything waist down, about how a human doctor rebuilt him with smart gel and sheer rage, how he learned to walk again, step by burning step. "You got it easier," he joked once. "I had stairs. You don't give up on broken things." "No. I build better ones." 6 months after he first received her, she walked. Her legs were trembling, her balance assisted by grav manipulators, but it was real. She took steps across the dome, heart rate spike lighting up the HUD. She looked up at Elias, pride barely held behind tears. "Are you watching?" "I've never stopped." He clapped once. She laughed, her first real laugh, broken and glitchy but real, and then she collapsed. He caught her before she hit the floor. News spread slowly across the stars, but it did spread. Whispers in the dark ports. That the human mercenary had taken the Baron's joke daughter and turned her into something else. Something dangerous. Something possible. And then came the message. The Baron summoned him again. This time, Elias didn't walk into the throne room alone. He stood at the doors, waiting until they hissed open. And then Viraya stepped beside him, on her own 2 legs, armored in sleek black composite, her 4 arms moving with grace and purpose. Her face was serene. Her eyes gleamed with light. The room fell into stunned silence. The Baron's mouth hung slightly open. "This is impossible." "She's not a joke anymore," Elias said. "And she never was. She can't speak for herself." Viraya stepped forward, voice amplified and clear. "I can, Father." The court recoiled. Even her siblings shifted uncomfortably. She bowed slightly. "You discarded me. He rebuilt me. You shamed me. He believed. What does that make you?" The Baron trembled. "You are still my blood. I have new blood now, forged from fire. Earth fire." That was the day the Tarandrask Accord was born. Not from treaties or embassies. From the walking proof that kindness, belief, and stubborn will could rewrite bloodlines. Viraya joined Elias in his missions, not as a sidekick, but as a co-strategist. Her unique biology and Terran-enhanced implants made her something new. Not quite human, not quite alien. Something more. They called her the Phoenix, a creature reborn from ashes, feared across the rebel systems. Not for her cruelty, but for her unstoppable will. Where she walked, broken things rose again. Where she fought, the weak remembered how to stand. One night, years later, Elias found her staring at the rings of Saturn again. She'd grown taller, stronger. Her voice no longer stuttered. Her movements were fluent. But she still stared like that girl who'd once watched silently from a slab. "Do you think they'll always see me as broken?" He smiled and poured her tea. "Only if you forget how far you've come." She looked at him, her mentor, her friend, her redeemer. "Thank you for seeing me." "I didn't see you," he said softly. "You showed yourself. I just had the sense not to look away."